system for the fourth level of laboratory medical students. في هذا الكورس هناخد الاندوكراين سيستم. عندنا طبعا بعض الامبورتانت نوتس. You can return it back at the end. For the body activities, it should be regulated. The regulation of all body activities is being done by nervous system and endocrine system. This is the two major systems for regulation of body activities, and they regulate all the cell communication for integration of body activities. Nervous system and endocrine system. What is the nervous system? It is network of nerves and fibers in which the nerve impulse is transmitted as well as neurotransmitters to control body activities. For endocrine system, it's a series of ductless gland secreted hormones, and this is hormones regulate body function. For glands, we have two types of glands. Exocrine glands, these glands like digestive glands and mucus glands, sweat glands, that secrete its product to ducts and after that to the body cavities. But for endocrine glands, no, it secretes hormones to bloodstream directly and to the target cell. For the communications of cells, there are few mechanisms for this communication, like gap junction. It's between two adjacent cells. There is a pores between the cells across the cell membrane that allow for the signals or chemicals to transport from one to another cell. For neurotransmitter communication or communications across neurotransmitter, these neurotransmitters are synthesized in the neurons and travel go out from the neurons by exocytosis to the gap between this end of these cells to the next cells to act or to perform the required action. For the hormones or endocrine hormones, they are synthesized and secreted from the endocrine cells and to the blood. They transported by blood or carriers to the target cells. For the nervous system and endocrine system, although they regulate each other and they regulate the body function and cell communication, there are some major differences between these two systems. The first difference is the communication. The communication for nervous system, it's by electrical and chemical signals, but for endocrine it's just only by chemical signals. And for the nervous system, the speed of nervous system, it's different from endocrine because it's short term and that is react and response to the outer stimulus quickly and response also inside the body quickly and stop quickly. But for endocrine system, it is long term. That means their action or their effect can persist for a long time, from minutes to days and sometimes for weeks. And for the location of the effect of electrical or chemical signals for nervous system, it's localized to the target cell only, but for the hormones it's widespread because it's secreted to the blood. There are some similarities between the two systems. Some of these similarities is for some chemicals that act as a neurotransmitter. It can act at the same times as the hormones like norepinephrine and antidiuretic hormone. And other hormones that secreted, it's hormone but secreted by neuroendocrines. That means neurons like oxytocin. Both systems also can secrete some products that can affect on the same target like norepinephrine and glucagon. They have been affected by level of glucose in the blood and cause glycogen hydrolysis in liver. but the outer stimulus is like different. This is response to stress and other different like nervous stimulus, while the glucagon responds to the level of glucose in blood. These two systems are regulating each other. Like neuron triggers hormone secretion and hormones stimulate or inhibit neurons. The component of endocrine system is endocrine glands. These endocrine glands, organs, and these organs is the parts of the bodies that form endocrine system. And endocrine cells, that means some cells inside some organs. These organs are not endocrine organs, but contain these cells that secrete hormones, like cells in brain or in heart or in small intestine. Hormone, the chemical messenger secreted to blood to stimulate response in another tissue. The target cell to hormone which have the specific receptors to this hormone. For the function of the endocrine system, it's in general regulate, coordinates, and controls the functions inside the body, like growth, development, and use of the body for energy, biochemical reactions and biochemical pathways, and that belong to the metabolic regulation of the body, levels of salts and sugar, appetite, and many other functions. These are the endocrine organs. Pineal glands above the hypothalamus, and this is pineal glands play important role in secretion of some important hormones, hypothalamus and pituitary, thyroid, parathyroid. That means these organs are forming the endocrine system and produce and secrete the hormones. We have another type of cells, which are cells in organs, as we said before, but produce some hormones, like G cells that produce erythropoietin and has a role in regulation of erythrocyte maturation and erythrobiosis. And other hormones also can be secreted by kidney. We will discuss it later when we come in details to the kidney cells that secrete hormones. Thymus, that is in front of the trachea. This is also play an important role in immunity, like T lymphocyte processing, and secreted some hormones that regulate important role in lymphobiosis, like thymosin hormone or thymine hormone that suppress neuromuscular activity by inhibiting acetylcholine release. Pineal glands produce a hormone antagonist for the effect of anti-corticotropic hormone, and also melatonin that acts on the gonads, mainly act on the gonads. GIT tract also secretes some few hormones. This is special cell in the GIT. This is the hormone that is chemical messenger, carry the information from the sensor cell to change or cause some changes in the environment across the target cell that responds to the sensor. And these hormones sometimes need two carriers to be transported in the blood. Also, they are synthesized as required on daily or hourly, minutes to minutes. But some hormones can be synthesized and stored in the body, like thyroid gland that synthesized and secrete T4. This T4 can be stored for 2 months in the glands and permits for a constant supply for this hormone, unless there is a cause for the deficiency of the hormone or the materials that are precursor for synthesis of thyroid hormone. Classification of hormone. The hormone can be classified depending on various criteria, like first, by proximity of the site of synthesis of this hormone to the site of action of the hormone, or can be classified by their chemical structure or by mechanism of action. By the proximity or القرب بالنسبة لموقع التصنيع للهرمون إلى مكان تأثير الهرمون, we have three classes or three categories of the hormones. The first type is autocrine hormones. These hormones that secrete, these cells secrete hormones act on the same cell. But paracrine, these cells secrete or synthesis and secrete hormone that act on the nearby or adjacent cells. But for endocrine hormones, they are secreted by cells and go by the bloodstream, transported to the distant target cells to perform its action. Another type of the second criteria for the classification is by chemical structure. We have three types of hormones depending or according to their chemical structure. Steroid hormones like androgen, estrogen, progesterone, and adrenocorticosteroid hormone. Amino acid derivatives from amino acids as tyrosine, that is precursor for the synthesis of epinephrine or epinephrine thyroid hormone. Protein or peptides hormone, these can be large, small, or medium like insulin, glucagon, parathormone, and other hormones. If we classify hormones by mechanism of action, we have two groups. The first group is the hormones that have receptors inside the cell, like cytosolic or nuclear receptors. These hormones are of lipophilic types hormone or hydrophobic. The second messenger for this type of hormone is the hormone binding with receptors that form hormone receptor complex. This is the second messenger for this type of hormone. For group 2, this type of hormones that are polypeptide hormones and have receptors on the surface of the cell, these of hydrophilic type hormones. The second messenger of this hormone can be one of those second messenger, these 4 second messenger. For group 1, which is lipophilic and its receptors inside the cell, they can cross the cell membrane, and they are not soluble in aqueous medium but soluble in the lipid, and those they can enter the target cell and bind to intracellular receptors to carry its function, like steroid hormones and steroid hormones. Group 2 hormones, which is lipophilic hormones, hydrophilic hormones. These hormones, the receptors on the side of the cells, and it is cause alteration in the side of cells and act by the second messenger as we have seen before. Before reaching of this hormone to the cells or the target cells, some of hormone are protein hormones and some of them are small molecules. And these small molecules are water-soluble hormones, and they can transport it through the circulatory system. Other the insoluble, like steroid hormones, their distribution can face some problems. For those molecules or those type of hormones that couldn't be transported easily in the blood, they must bind to specific plasma carriers protein. For example, as thyroxine binding globulin and 6 hormones binding globulin. These ligands between the protein and between the transporter act as a reservoir for the hormone. Because some peptide hormones can be facing or in our contact with some enzyme like protease. For this reason, the carriers prevent and protect these type of hormones from destruction by these enzymes. And for steroid hormones and thyroid hormones, because these steroid hormones, it's insoluble, this is increased solubility of these hormones and can make their transported in the blood easier. The small hormones like amino acid derivatives hormones that can be filtrated by kidney, the carriers protect them and from the filtration of kidney, and also cause prolonging of their half-life in blood. These some hormones, and this is hormones, and this is the abbreviation of the hormones, the main hormones. Mechanism of action of the hormones on the second messenger or regarding to the second messenger. Like hydrophobic hormones. Hydrophobic hormones, these hormones have receptors on the surface of the cells. After interaction between these hormones and receptors, it leads to formation of something called second messenger inside the target cell. The hormone is called first messenger, and the alteration inside the cell that's leading to the forming of second messenger, this is the second messenger. This has happened after binding of the hormone with the receptor on the surface of the cell. This is the molecule which considered as a hormone, act with receptor protein on the cell. This is integrated protein that found in the cell membrane. This protein is linked to another part inside the cell or intracellular part, for example as G protein, that can be affected and by the binding of hormone with the receptors, and this binding cause some alteration in the intracellular part that cause or lead to the another action until the second messenger to be formed and finish the alteration lead to the formation of product that will perform the required action. For the another type of hormones, which is hydrophilic hormones, that was insoluble but can cross the cell membrane, those for this is the second messenger. For hydrophilic, we have seen here the second messenger. This is example of the second messenger. Can be cyclic AMP or cyclic GMP. For lipophilic, it's different. Lipophilic hormone across the cell membrane, and its receptor is intracellular receptor. It's bind to the receptor forming hormone receptor complex, and this hormone receptor complex bind to another part on the DNA, or can migrate into the cells to DNA or another receptor, because the receptor for this type can be cytosolic receptor or nuclear receptor. After binding with the hormone with the receptor, this complex bind to specific sequence in the DNA, cause this sequence to do transcription for the required part of DNA for making messenger RNA that go to the cytosol to synthesis or to synthesize the required protein for performing the action or the required response for this hormone. Because of this action, lipophilic hormone is slower than the hydrophilic hormone and longer in its duration and action. Here, the lipophilic hormone. This is the carrier, and near to the cells or the target cells, the hormone is separated from the carrier. It can penetrate the cell membrane. It will bind to its receptor. Sometimes the receptor is cytosolic receptor. Sometimes the receptor is nuclear receptors inside the nucleus. They bind to the receptors forming hormone receptor complex, and this is hormone receptor complex will go to the required sequence of, and this is a specific sequence of DNA will copy the information to messenger RNA, and messenger RNA will be responsible for the synthesis of the required protein for performing the function or the required function for this hormone.